He's Jim Stewart, I'm Rick Collins, and this is Off the Bench.
This last offseason has not been without its LeBron James updates, and there has been a plethora of them this year, and the latest one is, it's not if, but when LeBron James is going to LA. Sources, as in Peter
Vesey, yeah.
has been just spewing the fact that, and he'll say it to anybody who'll listen, he's been spewing the fact that LeBron James is tired of Cleveland, he's tired of ownership, he's tired of the GM. I think he's tired of everybody in Cleveland. He wants to go to LA. There's been tweets earlier in the offseason that he has considered that his home. And when he goes there, the question is, how is he going to pull that franchise up off the ground with a couple of rookies and a good center from Brooklyn, but they need more firepower than that.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is not going to make up what he's had in Cleveland around him for the last few years. Everybody's talked bad about Kyrie Irving, everybody's talked bad about Kevin Love, but really, they've been huge centerpieces to what's made the Cavaliers with LeBron James, because he needed the help in Miami to get a title. He needed the help in Cleveland to get a title. He can carry a team on his back to a championship. He's done it before, but much earlier in his career.
Let's be honest, this is LeBron's world, and we're just living in it. And to be honest, I'm starting to get tired of this world.
Well, at least he's not coming to Dallas, because then we would really be in the center of it.
No.
But he's always going to be the story of the NBA. Remember Michael Jordan? He was always the story of the NBA. Every year when he was playing, even when he was playing baseball, he was still the biggest NBA story.
He went from Cleveland after he got drafted. He took him to a championship, didn't win.
Right.
He figured out very quickly that that organization is not going to help him, so he left. He took his goods to Miami. He had the whole presentation of the deal, and he brought with him Kevin Bosh. So it was Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. Now, they weren't going to win one, they weren't going to win two, they weren't going to win three, they were going to win 8 or 9 or 10. They won 2. And then he left because he saw what was going on. The writing on the wall was Chris Bosh's health was deteriorating.
Yeah. And Dwayne Wade was getting older.
So he went back to Cleveland and brought Kevin Love with them, and they had Kyrie. So now this has sort of run its course, even though they now brought in Isaiah Thomas. Kyrie has left. And his next step is going to a place where he can make the most money possible. And I don't think it means on the court. I mean off the court.
Yeah. This
is his mogul phase, as Colin Cowherd has always labeled it. This is his mogul phase. He's trying to build his brand, because I think leaving Cleveland, he wants to own Cleveland.
So he wants to be the Jay-Z of the NBA.
Yes.
Jay-Z doesn't need to rap anymore to make money. He's a mogul because he's a celebrity. He's a guy who is the biggest name in New York.
Owns a record label.
Right. So he wants to be that.
Yes.
He wants to not have to play basketball to make all his money.
I think this is a very strategic. I think what happened is he's going to leave. The value of the Cleveland Cavaliers is going to drop. Right now it's about $1.3 billion. It'll probably drop under $1 billion when he leaves. He's going to play in LA till the rest of his career is over. And then what I think is going to happen is the Cleveland Cavaliers will probably have a net worth of about $800 or $900 million. He's going to have a net worth of over $1 billion himself.
So he's going
to be worth more. He just signed $1 billion contract.
So you think he goes back and buys the Cavs?
I think he puts together a group to buy the Cavs. I don't think he's going to pull a Jerry Jones and throw all his resources into buying the Cavs.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
That's a good resource. These teams, even if you're in a sorry market, the collective value of the league lifts the value of each individual team up. It's sort of like having a crappy house in a really nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
Those property value rise, your property value rise.
Absolutely. And I think it's a great idea for him to go back and buy the Cavaliers, but LA, in terms of going and trying to win a championship, he's still an NBA player. He's not a owner, he's not a big time business guy yet. He's still at the first thing in his focus is an NBA player and winning an NBA championship. Can he do it in LA?
And I think that has to do with how is his mindset going to change from being a player to a mogul? Because there has to be a bit of a mindset.
Yeah.
If he's going to put that strategy together, if he's going to be Miss Dr. Evil in the lair.
Has he already done it, though, and is that the reason that they can't beat the Golden State Warriors?
It might be because he was making the business decisions for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last year, I need shooting. Shooters came in, couldn't play defense, got swept. So what I think is happening is he's going to go to
LA, a young team where maybe he has more of a say?
But not just that. I think in some ways he's doing a type of collusion. I believe he's talking to Westbrook, talking to Paul
Well, he's
George.
playing basketball with these
Yeah,
guys for sure.
Talking to Paul George, talking to possibly Carmelo Anthony, who is not going to leave the Knicks this year.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to gather, at least 2 or 3 of them are going to try to gather in LA and try to make a run. Now, that is the same division as, and what I mean by division is, that's the West.
Mm-hmm.
And the West is where the Golden State Warriors are. And to be honest, it's going to take a lot to get rid of the Warriors. They're young and they're talented. Now, whoever wins that, there's no one in the East that's going to stop them.
No.
Whoever wins the West is going to win the championship. Now, the question is, yeah, the numbers don't add up. The numbers do not add up. If all these stars go there, how are they going to pay for them unless they're going to be, you get a discount, you get a discount,
Exactly.
you get a discount.
There's
How are they
no
gonna get
way.
these
There's
guys
no
there?
way that they're going to be able to bring in Carmelo Anthony, Paul George. Maybe he decides he wants Dwayne Wade back in there, Russell Westbrook. They just can't afford to bring all these guys on, especially these young guys. That's the confusing part to me. Back in the day, you would see guys like Gary Payton and Karl Malone at the end of their careers trying to jump on a team to make an all-star team, but they were willing to take a discount because they knew, hey, I'm near the end of my career. I just want a championship. The money isn't that important. We're talking about Paul George and Russell Westbrook, 2 of the youngest stars in the NBA, right? These aren't guys in their 30s.
Late 20s.
They're in the mid to late 20s. Why would they want to take a discount? Why?
I guess they look at that as possibly their last chance to win a ring. Westbrook and George are not going to win in Oklahoma City.
No.
LA's not going to win with just Ball and Brook Lopez. And LeBron is not going to win where he is now. And even though Paul George is with Russell, and that's going to create a whole new chemistry there. I don't know what it's going to be. 2 ball-centric players. The 2 right now that have a best chance of winning championships for the long run are the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, they're the 2 best-built teams at the moment.
And that is the exact thing you were talking about. CP3 left LA. At the end of his career, he's older.
Correct.
To go play for a younger, more dynamic team.
Yes.
And that's what they were lacking. They were lacking a point guard who could play defense.
And the thing is, Chris Paul was forced kind of in the last couple of years to really do a lot of scoring because of Blake Griffin, injuries, DeAndre Jordan obviously not being a great offensive player.
Well, not good offensively, like 2 or 3 feet from the basket.
No, but Chris Paul had to score for that team. Now he can go to a team where he can be the type of point guard he was before, where he doesn't have to score 20 points a game. He can put up 12 to 15 points a game, get his 10 to 12 assists, and create a winning atmosphere because he knows going in there, he's going to have to give the ball up to Harden. He's going to have to.
But this whole segment that we've been talking about really centers around ego. Everything that LeBron James done has been for the LeBron James brand. What is CP3's brand going to be when he goes to Houston? He's a ball-centric point guard. He's gone to one of the most ball-centric places where, James Harden has to have the ball in his hands.
90% of the game.
Yeah. So how is that going to work? Because both of them need the ball in their hands. Is one going to be benched and come off the bench for the other one? Who knows?
No, I think what you'll see is CP3 is not nearly as ball-centric when he doesn't need to be. I think we'll see a different CP3, especially knowing he's near the end of his career. I think he's going to be a different player. I think that team has a legit shot of getting to the Western Conference Finals. And who knows, they may put up a fight against the Warriors. I think it's going to be difficult because the Warriors, they're beasts.
I really don't see an old dog learning new tricks. CP3 has done it his whole career. He's been a ball hog his whole career. I can't see it. That's the way he likes to run the offense. But That being said, when we get back, we'll be talking NFL. And
It's the season. It's that time of the year. It's going to be NFL. We're going to talk a lot of NFL, and there's a lot to talk about today.
next.
Back with NFL. It's that time of the year. It's a sweet fall season. We finally get a little bit of cooler weather, although it's still hot outside today. And there's some hot news in the NFL. Zeke Elliott. What happened on Sunday?
His issues aren't just off the field anymore. They're on the field. He had 9 carries, 8 yards.
A disaster.
The entire team was a disaster. I really can't explain what happened other than the fact that I've been saying forever, and I might be jumping the shark here, but I've been saying forever that these teams are now going to try to stop Zeke and make Dak throw. Again, he couldn't complete very many passes, nor did he attempt very many passes over 10 yards.
Well, okay, so yes, teams are going to make Dak throw the ball, but the offensive line last year was so good that even when they tried to do that, it didn't make a difference because the offensive line was able to block 8 guys in the box and get Zeke into space. That didn't happen on Sunday because, one, Denver's defensive line is monstrous, and the offensive line for the Cowboys is not nearly as good so far in this season as we expected them to be.
Lyle Collins is not the right tackle we believe he should be. He should be a guard. He is a guard. I think this really shows how valuable Doug Free was.
I actually was talking about this the other day. I was thinking, am I actually missing Doug Free? Because I can't believe I'm actually saying that.
What it was is we abused him because he wasn't a highlight reel guy. He wasn't a Tyron Smith.
Plus the fact he started on the left tackle side, and it was a nightmare for him on the left tackle side. And so we just abused the hell out of him because he couldn't block anybody at left tackle. But once they moved him over to right tackle with Tyron Smith coming in, that made the biggest difference.
I would rather have a right tackle that I never talked about. And the reason why that's good is because if you're not talking about him, he hasn't done anything wrong.
Right.
And no one ever talked about him. He did his job. Maybe he let up a couple sacks every couple games.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, but he was a run monster. He's a big man, and he really didn't let that much happen to him when it came to the defensive player just really abusing
Now,
him.
also the difference between him and Lyle Collins. Lyle Collins obviously moving from the left side to the right side. One of our writers actually wrote up a nice article about this on our website. But moving from the left side to the right side is not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially if you've grown up playing on the left side, you're left-handed as Lyle Collins is, and now you're going to move over to the right side. It's a totally different dynamic. Doug Free, right-handed on the left side, didn't make sense, but they had to have him there because he was the best guy. And this is back when we had an offensive line that was a nightmare. Tony Romo scrambling everywhere for his life. With him on the right side, where he really fit well, it made all the sense in the world. Moving Lyle Collins from the left side to the right side hasn't worked out yet. I think there's still a chance it could be because you can see his talent. But the problem is it going to be too late?
And not just that, you look at the line play, yes, it was bad, and it was mostly bad on the outsides. The guys were getting around and coming in. Well, what has happened is Dak wasn't able to adjust. And that's something that has to happen. He's
never had to.
Yeah, he dropped back and stayed put.
Yeah.
If you watch any quarterback, that's any good, you see Tom Brady, you see Aaron Rodgers, you see Matt Ryan, players that maybe aren't the most mobile people in the world, you see them, they call it climbing the ladder, right? They drop back and then they basically step up into the pocket, even if the front's getting
at whatever
compressed.
distance they need to, and whatever angle they need to find an open passing lane.
And so what is happening is Dak stood there and then waited until Von
somebody
Miller
had
got
a hand on his
and then he
jersey.
tried to take off. Yeah. He needs to learn to climb the pocket. That is an issue that he didn't have to deal with last year.
Right.
But 2 out of the 5 offensive linemen that were there last year are gone.
Yeah.
And it has thrown the offensive line in shambles.
It was sad to see the other side of the ball, Ronald Leary, our right guard from last year,
Doing great
for the Broncos. He fits that offensive line scheme perfectly.
But what it really shows is Jerry has done, in a lot of ways, Jerry and that front office has done it again. And what I mean by done it again is they let go of the offensive line coach 2 years ago, and he went to the Redskins, and the Redskins went from having the worst offensive line to one of the best offensive lines. So that was a mistake. The problem ended up being is that, okay, as long as you can keep this line together that knows the system that coach coached up, we're okay.
Yeah.
They didn't pay their left tackle, and the right tackle, Doug Free, retired. The issue becomes now you don't have a coach to coach them back up to where they were. This is going to be a never-ending problem for the Cowboys this season. I think Zeke also showed us that unless he's doing really well, he does not handle controversy or struggles very well. He didn't struggle when he was at Ohio State. He didn't struggle in high school, and he didn't struggle his first year in the NFL. He struggled. This is the worst game he's ever had.
When the pressure's on, you see who guys really are. And in this case, I think what we saw was Zeke is still a very young, immature man.
And it all came down to, if you want to see one play that epitomized how immature he is, it was that pick.
The Chris Harris pick.
Yeah, Chris Harris pick. He was 5 yards from him, turned and watched him run the other way, and he just walked towards the sideline. He gave up on the entire play.
I will say, you never encourage your quarterback to go chase down a pick returner. You never encourage your best wide receiver necessarily, a Cole Beasley type especially, because they're going to probably get murdered by some linebacker.
Well, smaller
trying to go
wide
chase him
receivers.
down. Yeah. But like LaDainian Tomlinson said, as he was growing up, they taught running backs are the guy who needs to make that tackle. They can take some of those hits.
Yes, they're used to it.
And they're strong enough to go tackle pretty much anybody who's going to go return a ball. When an offensive lineman is the guy who chases down that pick returner and the running back stands there with his hands on his hip, that's unacceptable.
No. And when it's even more unacceptable when your star wide receiver also gives up on the play, but your smallest wide receiver in Cole Beasley, Jason Witten, and Dak Prescott are chasing the ball, trying to tackle him.
Running the entire field.
Yeah, trying to get it, and your two other stars are just watching. First of all, Dez cannot separate from anybody anymore. It is the injuries have taken his toll. He's at this point is when you should feel the freshest throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
And so far he has looked like garbage. He can't separate. Yeah, he's going to get his 50-50. Yeah, he's going to be able to bully ball a little bit. But this is the second week in a row where he was targeted a bunch and he either didn't catch the ball or he couldn't get enough separation to get open. And that is a huge problem. And that's where the whole point of, is this the next coming of the triplets, falls apart.
Yeah, and part of that is, and what I've heard other people saying, and it makes sense, is that when he had Tony Romo was more the gunslinger mentality. He's willing to take some chances and throw into coverage. And Dez Bryant, because he can't separate, because he's not the fastest guy in the world,
4.5 at the combine.
He'll still go for those balls, and 4.5 is plenty fast for a big wide receiver like him.
At 21.
But I think he plays slower than that speed. And him going up for balls, 50-50 balls, that's a Tony Romo type of pass. That's not a Dak Prescott pass. Dak is looking for the guy who is going to be wide open because he is not throwing those 50-50. He only had 4 interceptions last year, and part of that is he's throwing those safe routes.
And the other issue is he had guys open the last 2 weeks, and he's either missed them or overthrown them.
And I think that's part of the offensive line issues. That's also part of the reason that you saw that Ezekiel Elliott had 9 rushes for 8 yards last week. Now, maybe once we get a defense that isn't that great, because we've played 2 of the best defenses in the league, and we're about to play the 3rd, if we get a slightly easier defense, I think we'll see better numbers. But I think there's a concern going through the season. If we have an offensive line injury, that's going to be a major problem.
So is that what we have? Is that what we've come to? Is that what we've come to? This offense is good.
Yes.
When we're playing bad defenses or mediocre defenses. This team based on last year, the type of hype that they were getting, not only from the Cowboys and the players themselves, but from the actual experts, was that this was a team that was one step away from the Super Bowl. And now, those teams that are one step away from the Super Bowl are the ones that can go up against the top defenses and play well. So what this is either they have to accept that they're a mediocre team, or they've got to change. And now what I think has happened is, I think it's not that he is a really unflappable quarterback, Dak. I think he's really good with his poker face. Because unflappable means that he isn't rushed when pressure's in his face.
Yeah.
The last two games, one of them was against a bad defense, one of them was against a really good defense. And he was rushed and overthrew a lot of open receivers. And that is a immaturity, not immaturity problem, that's a flappable problem. That is you feel hurried, and you have to make a play
And
right
he's
now.
never had that experience. I think he's been in places where he's never had the experience of being in a hurry. Next, we're going to be talking some little short items. We're going to be going a little back and forth. It's a new segment for us, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Short section, yes.
Because I'm going to yell at him a lot.
Next.
Marshawn Lynch dancing on the sidelines.
I have no problem with it, and I know I'm stealing your thunder. The Raiders have a lot to celebrate this year. They are a really tough
good team.
Offensive and defensive team, and to be honest, the toughness is coming from Amari Cooper and Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch is doing his job. He is not going to be that 100-yard, 2 or 3 touchdown back anymore. He's the one you come in, you give him 10 to 12 carries, and you let him beat the tar out of the other team.
He's not Murray, and he won't be Murray, but I think he's exactly what Oakland needs, and I love the dancing. I think it's great. He's not doing it after a touchdown. He's doing it on the sideline.
During music.
During music being played in the stadium. Dude, when I was playing football, we did that all the time on the sideline. Now, most of the time, I'm not one of the focal points of the game, so I'm not going to be on TV or anything. In fact, I'm not sure we even had TV at our games. But it's fun. He's having fun. It's not on the field. When he's on the field, he's serious, and he's smashing guys. If you're going to be able to do that, go have fun on the sideline.
The best example of what his role is was Jerome Bettis at the end of his career.
Yes.
Coming in, he's going to get 20, 30, possibly even 50 or 60 hard yards. That's his whole point. He is supposed to smash the defense so that when Murray comes in, he has a little bit easier time getting through that. Now, he is still beast mode. He just isn't the beast mode that's going to make a seismic activity.
No.
When
he's
he
not
goes for
running
60.
60 yards and stiff arming 5 guys on his way to the end zone. I know, confusing with rugby, but I just think it's great. I think this is the kind of enjoyment and excitement that football needs. It's not after the touchdown. It's on the sideline, having fun, enjoying playing the game, being a kid.
It is.
That's what it's about.
This is a game that these players are getting paid for. It's still a game. It needs to be fun. Andrew Luck getting traded.
I think they should trade him. I think he's still got, based on the last 3 years, he's still got a lot of value. He could be a number 1 quarterback for somebody, but if Indianapolis waits too long, they may not get anything for him, and they may end up having to rely on another draft pick to be their starting quarterback. It's a tough position because right now, as long as he's not playing, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL.
So why would they trade him then? Why would they trade him and possibly get a quarterback and then be that mediocre or losing team for a long period of time instead of a short period of time?
Because even if they bring him back, they're a mediocre team. And they are not going to win an NFL championship
so you're
with
saying
Andrew
trade
Luck
him
under the same system. I'm saying they need to trade him.
for the sake of Andrew.
No,
it's
they
not
need-
going to help the Colts.
It will in
They
the
could
future.
take that draft pick and get a wide receiver, offensive line, someone who can make an impact. You're just saying that for the sake of getting Andrew out because he would look good in a good system.
Yes,
and the
that's
Colts are
true.
horrible.
I'm not going to lie. There may be some selfish reasons I might want Andrew Luck to leave.
And
but
you know what? It is sad because if he ends up spending his whole career in Indianapolis, he's going to end up being a Derek Carr. Not a Derek Carr, David
Carr, yeah.
He just got the tar beat out of him, and he could have been a really, really good franchise quarterback, possibly Hall of Famer.
But does this show how important the rest of the players around a quarterback are?
I think it shows
Because
how
his
important the team
talent-wise-
is. Because
Yes.
the Colts have had such a bad history that it's gone through 3 or 4 administrations.
Yeah.
Team, coaching, GM. The owner's the only one that's constant. You have the same problem in Cleveland. You have the same problem. You did have the same problem in Oakland. It's systemic. It's just never ending. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They could bring in someone else.
But when Peyton Manning was there, they had 3 or 4 very good years under him.
But they had 2 star wide receivers.
Yes. And they had a great offensive line.
Well,
Agree to disagree. They had a great offensive line. Once that offensive line started retiring and leaving, Peyton Manning needed a change of scenery, and he ended up with that change of scenery. But you could see the downfall once Peyton left. Even though Andrew Luck was there, you could see the downfall everywhere else on that team. And he is not going to lead that team to a Super Bowl. They can go to the playoffs, but is that going to be good enough for the team? Because you then are losing that top 5 pick in the draft. And they could use that to turn another quarterback and trade Luck for another first-round pick to get another good player to rebuild. Because that's what they need is rebuilding.
I think it's going to take a theoretical neck scar for Andrew Luck to be out of Indianapolis.
Well, that's the only reason people go to the Colts games, right?
And that's the
He's a
only
star
reason
there.
why Peyton left was because he broke his neck. Is it going to take a massive injury where they don't think he's the same man, the same quarterback, the same leader?
I think they can't wait that long. They have to trade him now while he still has value. If they wait until his neck is broken, they're going to get nothing.
But then, I do agree with you. I think the whole point of this conversation of trading Luck is to really get Luck out of there. Let some young guy who's 21 years old take the beating.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a beating.
Yeah.
I don't care who you put. You can get Sam Darnold, who isn't mobile at all. At least Sam, and he's not a big guy. He's not a strong guy. Andrew Luck is big, strong, and mobile, and he couldn't take the beating. You're going to get an immobile quarterback. The only other quarterback I can see able to go in there and have any success at all is Baker Mayfield because he can move in a line.
Another Oklahoma reference over here.
Or get a Lamar Jackson, someone who can
All
run.
right. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
So Adidas just recently jumped over Jordan Brand for the number 2
I think this is stupid.
business in
I think it's
sneaker
stupid.
sales.
I know they consider Jordans and Nike being different, but they have the Nike swoosh on the shoe. They're both Nike. There's no way that when you combine those 2 brands together with the Nike swoosh, that Adidas even comes
So
close.
you think this is a joke that them jumping over number 2 Jordan is a big deal?
I think that they broke up. The ownership's still the same. They broke up those 2 brands because it made the SEO better. It made the company have more money. They could make more money, and I think Jordan pushed it as well. I don't think Adidas or Under Armour has a chance to catch Nike. Nike has cornered the shoe market. They had to break it up, or else I bet you there was probably pretty close to monopolizing that market.
So Adidas has gone a different route than Nike. Nike's focus has been on going after the teams, going after players. Adidas has decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go get designers to collab with us. We're going to go after celebrity endorsements, not guys who are necessarily attached to sports, but guys who have 8 million Twitter followers. Kanye West, for example. Kanye West, the Yeezy sneaker line through Adidas, is one of the highest selling and ROI shoe lines out there right now.
I'll be honest, they've got to do something because Under Armour, right now that have the NBA market cornered is Under Armour and Nike. The issue is most of those shoes look like garbage. The new, and I know Lamar Ball is not part of either one, but look at his shoe. Look at the Kobe shoes. Look at most of these shoes look horrible. They're getting to the point where they're just putting enough. It looks like someone vomited on the shoe.
But that's the sad part is that even though the shoes in our eyes is, aging
It's selling.
sports players, they're not what we're used to in the sports market, but they're selling to the young generation, and the young generation is eating it alive.
You know why? Because this is the same generation that likes trap music that I don't understand what the hell they're saying.
Okay.
This young generation makes no sense.
All right. So
Come on, people!
early season injuries. Do you think there's a problem right now with how many injuries we're seeing in the NFL? Because to me, there's too many. And maybe it's just because we now hear about every single little injury in the NFL. But I think there's a lot of injuries going on. And to me, it's about preseason. And I think the preseason, this cupcake or what I like to call powder puff preseason, it's messing with players' ability to come into a game and play at a high level.
I think it's a totally different reason. So let's, he and I are rugby players. So what would happen if I told you, okay, you get 2 games, no practices other than running around, and then we're going to put you on a rugby field and play? You and I have played long enough. Injury, pulled muscles, you're going to hurt something. That is the issue now. These players have signed a CBA or forced the NFL to sign a CBA that makes it so they can't have contact at practice.
Yeah.
These kind of injuries didn't happen, at least to the degree, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even the early 90s when they did two-a-days with pads, because they knew their bodies were used to it. They could take the beating. They were used to the beating. It's like someone who hasn't played in a while, or someone who maybe jogs once a week for a mile. They're going and deciding, I'm going to go step onto a flag football field and sprint down the field. You're going to pull your hammy like that, because you're not used to it.
So is it money? It's the amount of money these guys are making.
Yes.
That is
They're
basic.
scared to lose these players because they're long-term investments.
Yeah.
So if you had a player that was worth $500,000 and a player that was worth $25 million, would you treat them differently? Would you say, I don't mind this guy?
I'd love to say no, but I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, you would run that guy ragged. It's $500,000, no big deal. $25 million. If that guy gets hurt, you're out $25 million.
Yeah.
You're still paying a guy for no production. That's the issue. And what is happening now is I think there have been a lot of rules and regulations that have been looked at short-sightedness of the league. So what they've done is they've done for the entertainment value, for fantasy football, for what's on TV. They've also made it because they go, oh, defense doesn't win, running hard doesn't win, throwing the ball down the field, long plays, juking, all that stuff, that's what gets people to watch the game in their mind. So what has happened is they've changed rules so that there's little contact. And so what's happening is these players are running free, little contact, and then they're getting annihilated. Then they've changed the rules about head. So guess what's happening now? They're aiming at their legs. All the injuries you see now are torn ACLs, broken legs, and high ankle sprains. That has been the injury report for the first year.
Okay, World Series this year. What are your picks?
Do I care? I mean, honestly, it's either going to be Houston. It's either going to be Houston, the Nationals, or the Dodgers are going to win it.
Okay, I'm going Dodgers over Houston. A lot of people are picking the Indians right now because they've been hot. They've won 22 in a row. But
I have seen major leagues. I know they're not going to win. So with that,
no matter who they're playing against?
yeah, with that, we'll see you next time.